This is a trade recap for the ES Runner and Euro Runner trading systems for July the 18th, 2012. Given that Bernanke was speaking again for the second day at the 10 o'clock hour today, we didn't take any trades prior to Bernanke speaking. We looked to wait 15 to 20 minutes, as much as 30 minutes after he starts to speak, to make sure that nothing he says in the beginning of his speech really causes market erratic volatility. This morning, the market opened at 9:30. A number of traders took this market open trade at 9:36, 9:38. I told a number of traders to take it because on the SSI line, we have a number of arrows in a row that signaled there is a commitment in the first 10 minutes of the market's open to go long. I don't take market open trades, but in a situation like this where there's a number of arrows in a row and there's not an up and down erratic price action in the market's open, I would suggest, and I did this morning, for traders to take this trade. I'm not counting today as a trade for the system's profit, but nearly everybody, well, probably half of the room took this trade, and half the room made a lot more than the day's profit and loss. So to walk you through it very quickly here as to why this was a good trade. It's again because at the market open at 9:30, what we're looking for is whether or not the market is going up and down in price with an up bull candle and a down bear candle, an up bull candle, a down bear candle. If they're doing that the first 8 or 10 minutes, don't take a trade, because it means that the market's opening and people are covering long and shorts right when the market opens, and there's no definitive direction. Instead, before the market opened, we had a number of arrows come in here between 9:20 and 9:30. And then at 9:28 and 9:30, all these arrows started coming in. So when this entry came out long at 9:36 on the trigger price, and the next price came out at the chase, which is only 1.25 points worse, I told everybody in the room, guys, this is going to be a very good trade. I think you all should take it. Now, I'm not counting it again towards the system's profit, but today the system made significantly more profit than what I'm going to show you here. So people got in this trade here. They made their 2 points of profit. And then when Greenspan talked at 10 o'clock, some traders got out before he talked right here, but by the time he started talking, they'd already made 5 points on a runner. Others held on to the trade, simply moved up their position to a break-even status on the runner, and then were trailing the trade with the smart line, which trails right here. The price on the smart line is your trailing stop. Then traders also, several traders took a 9:52 scalp right here. I told a number of people in the room, take the scalp real quick. I think you're going to make fast profit before Bernanke starts to speak. A number of traders got into this trade, but also I'm not counting this trade as profit because it was within 15 minutes of a news trade, and that's a rule to not take trades within 15 minutes. But again, given the circumstances, you've got 10 minutes to work with until Bernanke was speaking. I did tell a lot of traders, guys, take this scalp, and it opened within the first 10 or 15 seconds. It hung out here around the open price. Traders got into it, and a number of people made 8 ticks on this trade as well. So this is a second trade now that I'm not going to count for today's profit. Here was another trade when Bernanke started talking at 10 o'clock, though it did make money as a scalp, intra-series scalp. I don't think anybody took this trade right when he started talking. And then this scalp here was not a valid intra-series scalp, so nobody took this trade. So again, a lot of traders took this one, the entry. A number of them took this scalp, and a number of them had a runner that they held here when he started talking. They moved up their stop loss. It was already moved up to break even, but some of them moved it up to a couple of points of profit right around here, and they just held it here and they let it run further. I had a lot of traders today, half the room, that made 8, 9, 10 points on this runner. A trade which I'm not counting for profit. Now this scalp here that came in, this sprint. Sprint is 15 periods of the smart line being flat and the first turn up with a triangle. That's a sprint. This was 14 periods. I told everybody to take it. It's 1 bar away from 15. When you have 2 arrows come in here on the SSI, which is a great sign of buyers coming in, and you're at 14 periods as opposed to 15, you know what? That's close enough to take the trade. I called the trade. Traders got in this. They got their open price, and they made the 10 ticks up here. The market hit the 10 ticks twice over 4 minutes. It hit it several times, actually. A number of traders got their 10 ticks here and got limits filled. If they didn't get the limits filled, I told everybody to pull the trade up to break even to a positive couple of ticks. And they got out when the 2 opposite direction strong twin arrows came in back to back. It's called a twin formation. When the twins came in, they exited right here. Those that didn't exit right there exited on the final rule, which is the opposite direction triangle. The opposite direction triangle is the absolute rule for exiting a scalp. The second rule would be If that doesn't happen, when this happens, two twins, you get out there. So a lot of traders got out here and they made 5 ticks on this trade, where others made 10. But I'm counting the trades today which were valid based on the rules. That trade is, then there was a sprint inside of the yellow line. You can take trades inside the yellow line. You just have to move your stop to break even when it hits the yellow, which you can tell here, when it hit the yellow, it immediately fell off. The traders got in this trade and went up here. Some traders exited at the yellow, which means they made 6 ticks. Others held on to this thing. And then we exited when we had the opposite direction triangle. We had 2 arrows. They're not twins because there's a space between the two, but they were close to it. Some traders exited right there. Others exited with the rule of exit, which is the aqua triangle. So they made 3 ticks of profit from here to there. So that's 13 ticks. These scalps were during lunchtime. I don't endorse lunchtime trading, but I know that some traders took these scalps, and one guy took the scalp here. He made his 8 ticks from here to there, but I'm not counting that today. And then this is still lunchtime. We're looking for new trades to take from 1 o'clock on. Here's the first short. Cautionary trade. The rule for taking a primary entry or a cautionary primary entry is when the double triangles come in to close your trade. But you refer to the SSI line. If when the double triangles appear, which is the first tick of this candle, if there are no up arrows against you, and the open price here is within a couple of ticks or so of the price to go short, stay in the trade. What the smart line tells you when it goes flat is that it's a period where sellers have backed off temporarily. But backing off doesn't mean there's necessarily more buyers than sellers. It just means the sellers are backing off right now when that goes flat. It's a break. As you can see, a lot of sellers came in. Right here was a big selling candle after several candles here, and then they backed off right here. But while they backed off, more buyers didn't come in. If they did, they would have been evidenced on the SSI line with green arrows. So what the rule I've told everybody is this: exit at the double triangle formation, but only exit when you have a arrow against your direction. If you don't have an arrow against the direction, stay in the trade. So for those that stayed in the trade today, they got in here, it fell down and made about 7 ticks or 6 ticks right here, about 6 ticks. And there's no reason to exit this trade yet until you get either stopped out, which for a cautionary trade is a negative 10 ticks, negative 2.5 points. It only went up against it by a point. Or when you have the formation of a double triangle, 2 arrows. When you have 2 strong arrows, 2 darker color arrows is a reason to get out of that trade when you're in an oversold condition. But in this trade here, none of those things happened. You had 2 arrows here, but they weren't both dark green. There was a light green and a dark green. That's not the same as 2 dark greens, okay? And these are, very simple rules to follow. So you stay in the trade until you make your 8 ticks. You only get out of the trade if the white line is crossed, the stop loss of 2.5 points is hit, or if you got a twin formation of dark colored green arrows. In the case of a short, dark colored green arrows. In case of a long, dark colored red arrows. Okay? So that trade here made 8 ticks. And then a sprint came in right here, and then it was exited with the 2 opposite direction arrows right here. I called the exit right here because the price action did not look good anymore. All those sellers that came in right here stopped. Now this sprint made 7 ticks. One trader in particular got in on the candle here because one arrow had formed and the second arrow was coming in, and he decided to front run the scalp a little bit, front run the sprint by the flicker of the second arrow, and he got in here at 66.75. He made his 10 ticks. That's a little more aggressive. It's not a rule that I endorse yet, but he made money on that trade. So that's a 0 tick trade. And then a primary entry long. Here you have the 2 triangles, which is the reason to exit the trade. And as you can tell, during this period of the smart line, you do have a down arrow. That's why this was a definite exit. And as you can see, it never went up very much from there. It even dropped much more against it. So that was an exit at 0 ticks. Entry is 68. Exit at the open, which is also 68. That's a 0 tick trade. And then we had a scalp come in at the end of the day that was a scalp that was, I like to have the scalp number as the first period of the white or the second period, not the third. Third is barely where I'd want a scalp number to be, but it's within the first three. So this was a scalp that I called in the room, and from the open it dropped very fast, hit the 8 ticks negative on the stop loss, and unfortunately we ended the day with the scalp losing 8 ticks. Now, the system made 13 ticks today. During the third week of July, when it's a huge vacation week, when the overall daily range have dropped 30%, it's still a good day. It's still a day where people made 3.25 points. The system did. I will tell you this. There was nearly the entire room today made over 40 ticks today. Why did they make over 40 ticks? Because they took this entry that I called right here. They made 2 points on that. They took this scalp that I called. They made 2 points on that. That's 2 plus 2, that's 4. They made a runner, which some of them got out when Bernanke started talking, which was a 5-point runner. Others moved up their stop loss to a positive couple of points and let this thing run until I called an exit of the runner right here. When the two strong twins came in right here, I called an exit. That was an 8-point runner for the majority of the room. Others still held on to the runner, not wanting to use the two arrows, and they held on to the runner until it crossed the white line, which is way up here, for the maximum absolute stop loss or take profit, that is, the absolute close. And they made 10.25 points on their runner. This trade, made up to 13.25 points with 0 points against it. So if you add the 2 here from the initial entry, the first half of the position that made 2, the 2 here on the scalp, that's 4, plus the 5 on the exit here before Bernanke talked, that's 9 extra points. That's an extra 36 ticks today. And a lot of the traders actually ended up keeping that runner longer, and they got out right here, which was 8 points. So 8 plus the 2 is 12 times 4. That's an extra 48 ticks. That's why the majority of the room today, I had one guy tell me he ended up making over 60 ticks. Now he's a brand new trader in the room. He's only his second day. He's trading on a demo account, simulation account. But his second day in the room, and both days he's made well over 20 ticks a day. Today he made 65 ticks, I think it was. He was up to 75 ticks. No, he was up to 78 ticks before he took an 8-tick loss right here on this trade. So I think he made 70 ticks today. I had a lot of other traders tell me they made 40, 50, 55 ticks today, and yet I'm showing the system that made 13 ticks. Okay, that's how successful this system is. Even on a day which it kind of took the market a while to get going. I mean, they got going when the market opened, and then they kind of went sideways in the afternoon. Oh, and by the way, the 30-minute system. Let me show you the 30-minute system today. It also made a lot of money today. The 30-minute system from entry made its 5 points and currently has a runner that was closed at the end of the day for a total of 5.5 points. It made 10.5 points today on the 30-minute system. So that's 10.5 points on the 30-minute system. And that's 3.25 points on the 5 minutes, the 2-minute system. But most of the room, made well over 10 points today. So today, the two time frames, the 2-minute and the 30-minute, the 2 and the 30-minute, made today over probably well over 20, 25 points today. And that's not uncommon for these systems, not at all. The pre-market, there was no trade in pre-market, so I don't have anything pre-market to show you because of Bernanke. There was no trade in taken today in pre-market. And on the euro, euro had no trades pre-market even though the euro did very well today. It made good money. It had a somewhat choppy trade right there that was lost for 15 pips, but then it had a 36 pip trade here, had a 44 pip trade here. I mean, look at the euro today. Today, those that traded the euro, even with Bernanke talking, made a lot of money today. But I can't count anything because nothing was taken before Bernanke, and then after Bernanke started talking at 10, so there weren't any trades. The only trade afterwards was an 11 o'clock trade on the scalp here, but that scalp is not within the first 3 periods of the smart line, so it's not a scalp that I would endorse anybody to take. If it was taken out at the cautionary triangle, so it would have been taken at probably a 3 or 4, maybe 5 or 6 pip loss, and then no trades after 11 o'clock, after 12 o'clock. But this trade here, even before Bernanke talked, this trade made 20 pips before he even talked. From the open price here, this thing shot up about 30 pips from the open price. About 25 pips, I think it shot up. And so a lot of traders got into trades this morning, well before Bernanke was talking, and they made 20 pips on this trade, plus a runner that got taken out when the two, either out at the two arrows here or the cross of the white line, but the runner still made about 15 pips plus the 20 pips on the first half of the contract. So there were still 35 pips of profit early in the morning, plus the profit of this trade before Bernanke talked. It was still about a 50 to 60 pip day for the euro, but because Bernanke was talking, I won't count the profit on this trade, these trades, just like I won't count the pre-market on the ES. Thanks very much. I look forward to seeing you in the room. Need to contact me, please reach me at info@es-runner.com. The website is www.es-runner.com. You can contact me through there. Also, the website www.runnertrading.com. www.runnertrading.com. Thanks a lot.